Welcome to Instructional Administrators Meeting for Principals and IDPC, and please sign in. Just a reminder of our network, because we meet every third Thursday of the month starting at 9:30. There will be a recording of this meeting in the folder, and there is ELA credit available at the end of the meeting. So just so glad to have you all here today. Our agenda today might get mixed up a little bit, but we do have first off and want to welcome our state school security marshal, Ben Wilcox. We always appreciate him taking the time to be with us. And Ben, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
Sounds great. Folks, thank you so much for having me. I always love speaking to our Eastern Kentucky friends. I like to come down in person better than when Zoom, but, I'll take what I can get, and I do appreciate the opportunity. I know that we did some training last year during the summer, and we're planning on doing that again. So I'll be looking forward to doing that with you all in the summer. Just a couple of things I really want to go over towards the end of the year for safety and security. First off, I've had the opportunity to travel the country a little bit. In the last couple months. I've been to Wisconsin, and then I've been doing some work actually with Kansas. Haven't been out to Kansas, been doing work with Kansas, and then talking to a lot of folks down in Texas. And what we're finding is there's a lot of states that are really following our lead when it comes to safety and security, really looking at this, the School Safety and Resiliency Act. For example, Texas is hiring people just to go rattle doors. Kansas is actually implementing a law like ours. There's 2 people in their safety, school safety division. And, they're calling me saying, well, how many people do you have? And I said, well, I have 15, and you guys are a bigger state. So there's a lot of states that are trying to catch up now and asking us a whole lot of questions. And their questions are, how are you getting folks to lock doors, and how you're doing this? I said, well, we go around, we visit, we talk, we have relationships, and we've done it for 4 years now, so it becomes normal. So I said, you guys really got to get past that. It can't be done, because the state of Kentucky is a shining example of how it can be done. And, looking at the assessments we have, we're almost 90% done with the assessments this year. Our assessments are looking good. The things that we're finding, instead of finding a lot of doors open, we may be finding 1 or 2. And those are things easily fixed, but we just have to work towards that 100% all the time. And I think you all know that. Our reminder for the end of the year, and this is kind of where we see some folks kind of slipping off on safety and security, is just that we're getting to the end of the year. Once we pass that spring break, then we get into testing, and then we're on the downhill slide to getting out. Just make sure, even if you've been visited by your compliance officer already this year, make sure you're still following all the regulations, following all the mandates that are in place, making sure your doors are locked, making sure your check-in processes are still where they need to be. You're vetting those people at the front door. You're not just clicking that button, making sure you're checking IDs. Some things we tend to find is, I just went to a school this morning that already had been assessed, and the buzzer just went off, and I just walked right in, and I said, you guys, even though you've been checked, you've got to continue to do what needs to be done. And I think that's just a constant reminder. Things don't happen, everything is fine, and then it's the time that does happen that really gets us. So we need to just continue. I was asked actually in a meeting in Fayette County, they said, well, what do we need to do to make schools safe and continue to, and I said, just follow the law. We've got a phenomenal law. We've got phenomenal mandates. We've got other states trying to catch up to us. We've all got it written down. We all have to do it. We just got to continue to do it. And that's my message for the end of the year, is that, most everybody's already had that guy in khaki pants and black shirt come in and check your school and give you a thumbs up, or we need to do some changes, but we've just got to continue to be diligent on this. Uvalde happened during the last couple of days of school in Texas. So, even though we can see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel, we've got to be just as safe the first day of school as we are the last day of school, and the middle school or middle of the school year. Couple things to go over. If your school is out of compliance on 158.1623D, which is access control, if we found a door, there's an issue, make sure that your SSC contacts your compliance officer to come back for a reassessment. Our plan is, and it's looking like it's going to work, is that we will be done with all assessments by the end of April. That leaves us May to come back and do reassessments if necessary. If your school's ready to get a reassessment, you don't have to wait till May to call us. Have your SSC contact your compliance officer. We'll come back and do that reassessment. We want to make sure, though, that everything's good before we come back. So as a principal, just contact your SSC, say, hey, we're good. We've had meetings about this, or we fixed the issue, and our compliance officers will come back and do that reassessment. We will not be doing any reassessments during the summer. We did a couple during summer break and summer school last year, just because that July 1st date was looming. We wanted to make sure everybody had an extra chance to get to that July 1st date, but the July 1st date's passed. So we actually are taking over SRO training as the marshal's office. So we will be working this summer on training our compliance officers on SRO training. And then starting next year, we're going to be doing regional SRO training. So your SROs won't be out of school for training. They'll be coming during the summer. We're going to split it up into block schedules, so they'll only have to come one day at a time. So we're trying to make it easier for folks to travel. We're listening to the schools. The schools like, we don't want our SRO gone for a week to Richmond. Well, we're trying to split that up or getting that training in the summer. So we're really working to make it so we can keep those officers with their kids most as possible. We're, again, very proud of what's going on in the state and what folks are doing. If you have questions, if you have issues, obviously contact your compliance officer. We're always there to help or there to answer questions for you. This summer, continue that. If you want your compliance officer to come down and talk to your staff, feel free to do that. When I started this job, I kind of thought that, well, we'll tell everybody how this works. We'll come do the assessments, and then we won't really have to do a whole lot of training because we're going to do it all up front. You know as well as I do, your turnover rate is immense. You're going to have new principals, new staff, and there's not a lot of training on safety coming from the college level. So when they're coming in, they're getting that safety training at your all's facility. So it's really good that this summer, if you want our compliance officer to come in and talk about what we do, how we do it, how the risk assessments work for your new teachers or principals, please let us know. If you have a new principal, make sure you get a hold of us and we can come in and discuss things with the principal before school starts. We won't do a full risk assessment, but we can get that risk assessment to them, talk about what we're looking for, talk about why we do what we do. One of the biggest things is that we have to kind of explain to some folks why these mandates are in place. Why do we have to shut the interior doors? Why do we shut the exterior doors? And a lot of folks don't understand layered security, but we can come in and explain that to them. And sometimes when teachers hear why things need to be done, oh, I get it now. I understand. This is why this is so important. We have had several incidents across the state where locked doors have kept people out of buildings. And it's not in the news because nothing happened. So that's what's most important, is to just know that if nothing happens because we've done it right, we're not going to hear about it. We're only going to hear about it when something bad happens. So they actually did have, I think it was in Western Kentucky, locked door stopped a perpetrator that was high and had a knife on him and couldn't get into the school. And the SRO was there to make the arrest. The school wasn't even aware of what was happening. It was taken care of so fast. And that's the kind of stuff that we want to look at, we want to see. And that's why so many states are chasing us right now. So my message to you for the end of the school year is have a great end of the school year. Have a great spring break. Have great testing. If you notice, we tried to get all our assessments done in April because we know the big T's coming in May. We don't want to be rattling doors when kids are in. Of course, I do get calls sometimes from principals and SSCs that say, come during testing. I know all the doors are shut when testing's going on. But we kind of want to keep that to just reassessments. But that's what we're looking for. And please just continue to follow the mandates. And there, nothing hurts then when you have the next teachers meeting, say, or staff meeting, hey, we got assessed in August. We're good, but we got to keep this up. Remind them of what they need to do. Continue to walk down those hallways and make sure those doors are shut. And that's what we're here to do, is make sure those things take place in our state, and we're also here to assist you. So at this time, I know I went pretty fast and I spoke without taking a breath for 10 minutes, and that's how I usually do it. But what questions you have or issues you have coming up till the end of the school year, I'll be happy to discuss them with you.
Feel free to unmute or type something in the chat. We'll give you a couple of seconds here to be able to do that if you have anything you want to ask.
I told you
Marshall
15
will-
minutes. You know, I got to talk fast to get everything I want to say in during that time. I actually
You
went
did very well.
I went to Wisconsin and they didn't have me down as a speaker. And they said, at the end of it, they said, well, could you really introduce yourself and tell us what's going on? And it was the Wisconsin State Safety Convention. What's going on in Kentucky? And we'll give you 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh my Lord. And so I went as fast as I could, but they did ask me to come back next year and have an hour and a half. So I must have put a lot of information in 5 or 6 minutes that I did have. So like I said,
Well,
you guys are a model. And I really
maybe you
want to
can
say,
slow down for that.
yeah, I had to slow down for that. The reason why we are a model is because you all are doing such a good job making it work. The law's there, we're the catalyst to make sure it's happening, but you all are the folks that are making it work. So I'm very proud of you. I appreciate you all. I appreciate what you do for kids. So if there's no questions or anything of that nature, let me know when I need to come down to Eastern Kentucky and see you guys.
All righty. Thank you so much, Ben. We always appreciate your time and always being so helpful. Thank you so much.
You bet. You guys have a good one and have a great spring break coming up. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Just a reminder, some of you didn't get to hear, we are planning with State School Security Marshal Ben Wilcox to do a training with KVEC like we did last summer. And it seems like virtual is a popular mode that a lot of you are liking. So we're planning to do it virtual. I can go ahead and give you the date so that you can be watching. I will email that out to all our principals, all our superintendents, so that you all are aware, but we will be doing that July 11th is when that's going to be. And we'll probably do it more in the morning, probably starting time at 9 in the morning. So just be aware, but thank Mr. Wilcox, Marshall Wilcox so much on that. We'll go ahead and continue with our meeting. Kim, are you still with me?
I am still with you. Absolutely.
There you are. So here's Kim Sargent, our phenomenal social study consultant. And let me tell you, if you have not gotten Kim into your schools, you're missing out. And I would recommend that you contact her because her calendar is filling up. But she is wonderful to help you with any social studies support in your district. So take it away, Kim.
Thank you, Mary. You can go ahead and well, I will tell you guys this on this screen that you guys see there about April 12th. Did get a chance to change to February. March is Women's History Month. It's the windiest month too. I don't know, but anyway, it's Women's History Month. So I'll send you all some information on that one, but I didn't get to connect to that one. So go on to the next one there, Mary. I'm in a district today, so I'm going to talk quickly also, so I can get with my people. This is an opportunity I mentioned at the last IDPC, but I have since been to a training and have a bit more information and everything that I wanted to share with you all. This application is going to be ready by Monday. I'm currently coordinating and collaborating with the state coordinator and everything. Kentucky is one of those states, and I have lobbied for Eastern Kentucky, for the KVEC region, to be part of this national grant. And this grant, as you guys see here, it targets 6 through 12 teachers, but most importantly, it targets special populations. So when you're thinking about, and when we think of civics sometimes, I think for most of us, we start thinking about, I want you guys to think about how overwhelmed as an adult that you were when you graduated, and there was this whole idea of voting and knowing which best candidates and that kind of stuff to pick and everything. And when we start thinking about just the whole process of being a citizen, it's pretty overwhelming. And so therefore what we sometimes do is we start limiting what it is that we do, just because we may not be familiar with all the different realms of what it means to be a citizen. But what I'm very excited about is that this targets special populations, the very kids that we know that and Dion can talk about this a little bit, the very students we have that we know that they're going to leave the school and go into jobs and things like that. And we want to make sure that these students really know what it means to be a citizen. So with that in mind, we start, this program is going to, like I said, target middle and high school. They're going to participate in 52 hours over the year of professional learning. They will have a mentor and coach for our, and the state coordinator will also be coordinating with me on that. to come in and work, and I will be one of those mentoring coaches to come in and work with our teachers. They're when they complete the 52 hours of training, and I think you can go on to the next one. I think I put some of that information on there if you want to, Mary. Those two screens were really telling you about some of the statistics, why this program is so phenomenal. And then go to the last one there. And you guys can come back in the slide and look at this later, but I'm just going to, yeah, there we go. When they complete the 52 hours, there's also going to be $500 stipend for them. But this coming summer, and this is why I really want you to think about, because if we think about, especially with high school, we're typically teaching civics. And I know we have the civics test, which is really limited to 100 questions, but civics is so much more complicated than that. Civics is so much more than us just learning the different forms of government and the different parts of the Constitution and memorizing the preamble and that kind of thing. It's much, much deeper than that. Of all the skills that your kids are going to leave the high school with, the civics and economics are the two components that they're going to immediately go into upon graduation. So to support our students in being better citizens and more actively involved citizens, that is the whole idea behind deeper learning for our teachers in civics. And that's what this is all about. They're also going to get those supports to within this program to really target special populations. And when I say that, Dion is probably going to give me a big old head nod. It's going to focus on the universal design for learning, which means if it's good for your special populations, it's good for every kid in that room. So, and we sometimes think about those kids that are sometimes, kind of, stuck in between. Those kids who are not part of the special populations, but who are still struggling. And again, when we start thinking about COVID and everything, we have a lot of students that are struggling. These supports that these teachers will learn in this program will support every student. And we have to think about that. 36 of those hours will be partially in the spring, and then there will be, and it's phenomenal, and I can't tell you about it, but we have a great week planned for those teachers. It's going to be pretty fun, as well as very educational. Don't worry, this summer. So they'll have 36 hours this summer, and then they'll have one day in the fall. And then the rest of those times will be, working with me and the state coordinator in coaching and mentoring situations. So please, especially think about those, think about those teachers that you have that, when we think about high school, typically we know who usually ends up teaching those freshman classes and things. Your less experienced teachers, you will sometimes put in those positions. So we really have to, I really want you guys to think hard about those teachers that that could be supported by this. With middle school, I know you've got that question because those 8th grade teachers have 1600 to 1877 that they have to teach. I promise you this curriculum is going to support that heavily. It's going to be great for them as well. But please, think about that. If you are interested in applying, shoot me an email. Mary has got that email. Mary could even just type it in the chat there for me if you don't care, Mary. But if you have any questions at all about that, and or want me to talk to your teachers, or you want me to talk to you and explain a little bit more, I can't emphasize enough for this is an incredible opportunity for our teachers in our region to participate in the national grant. That means, by the way, that the teachers and the students will take a pre-test. They're going to teach those lessons. And by the way, they get free textbooks as part of this grant to use. And then they'll take a post-test at the end of the year. So that's going to be a little piece of it too, because your teachers and your students are going to be part of a national study. I think this is just an incredible opportunity. Sorry, I talked so quickly and maybe a little bit chaotically, but I want to get back to my teachers and everything. But if you have any question, and thank you, Mary, for putting that in the chat, email me or call me.
Thank you so much, Kim. We so appreciate you taking the time to share that with everybody. So if you're high school 6 through 12, be sure to reach out to Kim, especially if you've got that teacher that you feel would really benefit from this, and let her know to get in contact with them about it. Thank you, Kim. Is she already gone? She may already be gone.
No, not yet.
Bernadette.
I was saying thank you. Thank you.
Mary,
Okay.
Mary, do you want to share my PowerPoint?
Yes, I will share your PowerPoint. You're ready to go?
Yes.
So I'm going to pull it over. There you go. And is it okay to go ahead and put a link to that in the chat to everybody?
That will be fine.
Okay. All right, and then I'll go back and put a sign in because I think a few more people have gotten on. Want everybody to welcome Bernadette. She's going to share some great information. She is our DEIB contact, and so she's got some great trainings. Once again, if your people did not get to come to Ruby Payne.
I
She
got it.
is a
Thank you.
certified trainer. And so that is a wonderful training to ask her to come out and to provide with your districts or your schools. And then also she does equity dashboard, just all kinds of great things. So I'm going to turn it over to her. Thank you, Bernadette.
Thank you. I apologize for not being in here earlier, but I'm actually in the district doing something else. So I just took time out to do this. But I'm going to talk to you today about cultivating opportunity. And it's the power of courage and connection. And this was actually, you can go to the next slide, Mary. It's actually created by my DEIB folks that I work with at KVEC. And I tweaked it to make it my own. So it's not exactly all theirs, but I want to give them credit. In this, our learning targets are to define diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and to just discuss ways that we can make these concepts meaningful and that there'll be intentional priorities at our schools. Learn strategies to support traditionally underrepresented students, and we all have those. Recognize strategies to enable a multi-tiered system of support. And when you look at MTSS, you're talking about a multi-tiered system of support, and DEIB is a part of that. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging are a big part of MTSS, because I'm a firm believer that if you don't address the needs of those kids and you don't get what they're interested in, you don't know your kids, you're not going to get the academics that you want. Change, Mary. I wasn't going to show this because it's about 4 minutes, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But I really want you to see it because it really brings you into the thinking of why we are focusing on this. And we'll talk about it once you've watched it.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and then start sharing again because I know I did not click that little button to share sound. So,
oh,
let's try
sorry,
this.
Mary. I should have mentioned that to you.
Oh no, I had thought about it, Bernadette. That's all my fault, don't you? I'd looked at it. I hope everybody can hear.
I think that's very powerful when you read those things that go along with that those children are experiencing, and not just the children, but the staff. So if we were together, and I don't have that much time today, but we would discuss this, and I'm going to ask you to think about the relevance of this video with what you do, with your work. And what do you see that society doesn't? I mean, how can we come together and help? And that's what diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is all about. We had a group of new teachers the other day, and they were phenomenal. And I guess it renewed my faith in everything, because, you know, you hear a lot, we got new teachers and they're struggling, but they participated, they did this same training, and they had a lot of things to offer. And no matter who we are, we're all experiencing something that nobody knows anything about. But it's so important that somebody has a connection with everybody in that building, with every student, with every staff member, and that they feel comfortable that they can talk to somebody. And sometimes maybe when they lash out, you don't go right back at them, because just know something's going on. Maybe try to help them, you know. Okay, Mary. And that's called empathy. And it's when you can put yourself, it's the capacity to understand or feel what another person is experiencing from within their frame of reference. That is the capacity to place oneself in another position. And that's really hard for some of us, because we all come to the table with different backgrounds. We all have different things in our life that made us who we are today, and make us have the same, you know, whether it's issues or good qualities, that all came along the way in the path that we took. Everyone does not have the same background. It'd be a boring world, I'm sure, if they did, but I would like to see everybody have a really good life, would be my goal. But that's, you know, it just is what it is. And we have to help children where they are. We have to find out a way, like I said, to connect to them. And the one thing I want to point out, and one of my coworkers, and I've said this before, and I keep saying it because I want people to understand, empathy does not mean endorsement. Just because I'm empathetic to a student for what it's going through, or an individual, a staff member, it does not mean that I agree with what they're doing. It does not mean that I'm promoting what they're doing. It means that I am empathetic to them. I try to feel for them. I try to help them to get the best education they can get by providing them with whatever their needs are. Okay, Mary. I went over this last time, and I do it just about every time, but I want to do it because I want everybody to understand what diversity really is. So many times, and I've said it before, people think it's only race. They think it's gender. They think it, you know, it's not. It is not. It's not LBQ, GT, whatever that is, you know, that big long thing. It's not just that, but it is that. If you have kids, you have to provide them with an education. We may not agree with it, but we do have to provide them with the best education possible and know that they feel safe at school. But it's individual traits and differences which directly impact the engagement, inclusivity, I have the awfulest time with that word, inclusivity, and experiences of students such as race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status. We have a lot of that in our area. We have a lot of poverty. We have different levels of poverty. You may even have kids that have that are not low socioeconomic, but they still have diverse backgrounds that we have to address. Language, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, country of origin. We do have a lot of folks that have moved in from other areas. We have doctors and people, and we have to address where they come from. We have to make sure that we address that culture. Differing abilities, personality, and learning styles. We are all different. My learning style is maybe totally different from most of yours. We just never know, but you have to try things until you can figure it out. Cultural, political, religious, or any other affiliations. So what I would say to you, when somebody hears DEIB and they say, oh, that's about, you know, LBQGT, whatever, let them know yes, those are our students and we have to take care of, but it's not just about that. Diversity's been around forever. We're all diverse. Appalachia's diverse. You know, we have qualities though that some other people don't have. You know, we have folks, then we have kids that have come from different cultures and they have qualities that they can teach us. Children can share with us. If you're doing a project-based learning, you know, they all have different qualities that they bring to the table. But if you include them in some of the planning of any lesson, I guarantee you they can really help you with that. If we were together, I'd have you turn and talk, but does your school celebrate or district celebrate diversity? Think about that. I just ask you to think about it and say, what do I do? I can tell you an example of one thing I did when I was at a school was at the end of the year, we looked at different cultures and we ate the food they ate. We went on field trips that pertained to them. That classroom decorated their room and that. I mean, we had all kinds of activities. If they had dance or music, we did that. So that was one way that I addressed it, which is not the only way that you can do it, but that's just one thing that I did. Now, we used to say, I'm going to provide every child with an equal education. I mean, I can remember I was like, what's the difference in equality and equity? If I'm providing all of them with it, then hello, they're getting their share. No, that is not the case because go back just a little bit, Mary. One. Okay. Equality is the condition under which every individual is treated in the same way and is granted the same rights and responsibilities regardless of their individual differences, abilities, or background, which we want to have equality. We have to have equality to get to the equity. Equity in education, though, it's about ensuring that all students have the supports they need to meet their academic standards and to reach their full potential as students, citizens, and human beings. Now, inequity in education recognizes that public school students come to us, as I said before, with a variety of different backgrounds, with a variety of needs, supports, and experiences. And we have to take that into account when we're thinking about what our kids need. Like those kids that you saw in that video, if you picked out one kid that day and you saw it was having a problem, do you think they were going to be very successful that day? But what if you could somehow, and there are ways, if you could just develop that relationship with a kid, make that connection to where they felt comfortable. The kid felt comfortable saying, I've worn my clothes 2 days. You know, I'm embarrassed. I'm afraid the kids will make fun of me. And I think you'll get, I mean, that kid's not going to perform until he gets something done because it's sitting there thinking everybody's looking at me because I have on the same clothes. Now, you wouldn't do it publicly. You would have to have a little talk and do it very carefully because you don't want to make any kid feel like they're inferior. Now, how do you help ensure all students and stakeholders have equitable access to the supports they need and the opportunities? How do you do that? Do you do it at your school? I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do it in your district. But look at that and talk and just, well, I would let you talk about it, but think about it. If you're looking at it, say you want to ensure all students and stakeholders, that includes parents. That would be like for instance, site base. Do you have different diverse groups on your site base? I know some of us don't have a lot of diversity, we feel like, but we really do because, you know, you have poverty, you have different things. Is there a low socioeconomic person on there? Because they come to us with a different lens. They've lived a different background than we have. Sometimes, not that I was just a middle-class girl, grew up, but you know, it's very important that we have a variety of people. If you've got committees, make sure those committees are mixed up with your kids. If you have, for instance, if you're offering groups, you know, where you meet with the kids, clubs, make sure you have clubs that are of interest to every child. And then that way, that kid has something that it can hold on to. Okay, Mary. I'm trying to talk fast because I made my PowerPoint probably too big, and I may not get through it all, but if I don't, I'll do it at the next time. There was so much I wanted to tell it all. So inclusion. Now, this is a key word in inclusion, the intentional act. Because we'll say, well, all kids are included. They can all participate if they want to. Well, they may not feel like they can, even though it's offered to them. And we have to reach out to those kids and make sure, like I said, with clubs, there might be a kid, it doesn't fit in one. It's not a sports person, but it would fit in like another club that was more academic or something. That I know one little boy the other day, he talked about how he had let a kid during his class, they were using the math part of it and they were going out and going to plant stuff, or maybe it was the science part, I guess, but they were going to fix a little garden. I mean, find a kid, and the kid said, oh, I know all about this. My grandpa does it. He found that connection to that kid. And that's what teachers have to do. They have to find that connection, and we have to find it with the rest of the staff also. Okay, Mary.
It's not going. There it went.
It's okay. So radical inclusion, the concept of radical inclusion means that we go out of our way to identify individuals and groups who are typically outside our conversations and decision-making processes. And that's kind of what I was talking about a while ago, and create supports and intentional structures to involve them. So we have to be intentional about it. We have to, and it's hard. I know, been there, done that. Sometimes we get so busy. But if we do this, we will develop relationships that will help us in the long run with those parents or with those students. It will save you time in the end. Okay, does your school or district, are you inclusive? Is there a priority on radical inclusion? And have you thought about who might feel unincluded? There may be somebody that had a horrible experience, and it could be any socioeconomic level, had a horrible experience in school, and they don't want to have anything to do with that. They feel like they're left out. They don't belong when they go there. And, you got to find a way to be intentional and get that person included. Now, can you get everybody? No, but let's try to get as many as we can. It'll make your life easier too. Okay, Mary, go on. Now, and as I said before, inclusion is not access. Okay. Belonging, and I'm not going to show the video on this because I don't really have time, but you can, she put the link to the PowerPoint in there. You can watch the video later. Belonging is the degree to which learners believe, experience, and feel that they are accepted by adults and peers, as well as respected by a valued contributor in their learning, and so as a valuable contributor in their learning and social environment. They want to belong. Nobody wants to go into a lunchroom and sit alone. Sometimes they say they want to sit alone because they're ashamed that nobody wants to sit with them. But there is no one that doesn't want to feel like they're a part of it. So we have to, as educators, we have to work and find ways to do that. And if everybody in your school does it, then it's going to happen. And you can bring around kids, you can bring around adults that you never thought you'd ever be able to change just by showing them that you respect them and that they belong. Go, Mary. Okay. Does your staff ensure that all students and staff feel a sense of belonging? And I think we all do a pretty good job of that, but I do think that we have to be more intentional. Staff is important. If they don't, you saw in that video how some of the staff, they're going through things too. So do they feel like they can come to you and you have a line when you're a principal that you have to be careful, but they need somebody, and you need to ensure that all of them feel that sense of belonging. If you see someone that you don't feel like or a group that you don't feel like they belong, what do? I mean, I can remember seeing a kid sitting by itself in the lunchroom, which totally breaks my heart, about cry when I think about it. because it's happened many times over the years, but I always found me a student that I knew was a good kid that I could say, you know, let's try to make him, you know, can you talk to him a little bit at lunch and sit with him? You wouldn't want to sit by yourself. You know, you just try to work it out to where we want to grow up good people. We want good, kind people in this world. And it starts really with us, because some of them, and with most of them, well, not most, but a lot of them don't have that at home. They've not been taught to make sure people are included. No fault of anyone's. It's just their background and the way that they were raised. It's just different situation. And we have so many different situations that, like I said, they come to us with. Okay, Mary. The first thing you have to do is examine yourself. And this is awareness. And this is the first module of DEIB, the A4. So with this, all you're doing is looking at yourself. You're asking the following questions. Mary, go over there. Go ahead. You're using, and to do that, you need to be culturally proficient. And I actually have a rubric in here that shows when you've reached cultural proficiency. It's an example, but you have to have the knowledge, the skills, attitudes, and beliefs that enable people to work well, respond effectively to, and be supportive of people in cross-cultural settings. It starts with us. Kids model what they see from us. If they see us in the hall arguing with another teacher, guess what? They think it's okay. We have to really think about the things that we do. So it requires an inside-out approach. And what an inside-out approach means, it's being aware of how we as individuals and as organization work with others, being aware of how we respond to those different from us, and understanding the visible and not so visible differences. And if we're ever going to live in a diverse world, which we are in, and we have to learn to do that. We may not agree with them, but we have to be kind and be respectful. Now, this is totally me, and Bronna pointed it out to me the other day, and I said, you're right, it is. Cognitive dissonance. What? And there's the definition that tells you all of it. But I'm torn like this little graphic over here. I can't stand animal cruelty. I mean, I will just about fight you over an animal. And I'm not a violent person. I'm mouthy, but not real violent. But I also like to eat a little meat. But I am so conflicted, because I'll start thinking I shouldn't be eating that meat because I love animals. Why am I eating that meat? You know, and I don't eat a lot of meat, but I do eat some. So that's my conflict. So that's an example. My belief is over here. That's what my belief is. But then I also have this other thing nagging at me and says, but me, and I'm diabetic. You can't eat carbs. You got to eat, you know, protein. It's hard. So, and it's just, I mean, that's the best example really that you can read it. I'm not going to go through all that, but we tend to do this. We have inconsistencies and perceptions many, many times about different things and different people that we really, we're not right. Sometimes I'll have these perceptions and I'm like, that person's not like that at all. And I have to back up. So we have to understand that, you know, people are different and we'll have two conflicting beliefs. You know, that's going to happen. And that's an example, but we have to work through this. Okay, you have to look at your values and then start looking at the kids' values. And, you know, none of us have the same values. We may have some that are higher up and we may have some in common, but we all have different values. And values provide the foundation for living. Values are what we prioritize at a given moment. So they can change. They're not just always the same. It depends on what you're going through at that time in our lives, based upon a lifetime of information we've acquired. Goes back to all the stuff that brought us to where we were. We're back here now at you know, it brought them to this point, and they're bringing all that baggage with them, good or bad. So start asking yourself, and this is where the awareness comes in. Who am I? Am I who I want to be for myself, my family, my students, people that don't share my lived experiences? You know, sometimes we think our way's the only way. And I have really had to grow with that and realize that, you know, my way is not the only way. What are my values? Ask yourself that. Think about it just a little alone time together with yourself, or if you have a friend that you want to discuss it with. How do those values connect or not connect to DEIB work? Are my values where they should be? And you may have conflicting values, but you have to find a way to work with others that don't have that same value. So what we would do if we were in person, we'd choose, and if I had more time, we would choose your top 3 values. You would choose it. And then there's a piece of paper on the next side. You can look at some of the values there. On the next one, there is, oh,
Sorry.
it's okay. Click. Oh, well, guess it wasn't the next one. I think I took that out because it was too long. But anyway, there's a piece of paper and you fold it. And on one side, you put what your values are. You choose your top 3 at this point in time. And like I said, they can change. Then on the other side, you put what behavior you see in that or what you would like to see. Where do you want to be with your values? And that's not a bad thing to do with kids. You might not want them to have to share out loud, but you could take that up. It'd be like doing a little survey with them. And by the way, some of those new teachers had such great ideas of things that they're doing when their kids come in new. They're doing little surveys. They're doing some little fun things. And this one guy, he actually told how he learned about this little girl, her background, because one of his questions was, what would you do if you could, where would you go if you could go back in time? Where would you go? And she said back to 2005. And he got her up later. He didn't ask her in front of the class because he was getting them to know each other. And she said, he said, honey, why would you go back to 2005? She said, well, my parents weren't on drugs and I would tell them not to get on drugs and lose me. My grandparents raised me. They were good grandparents. Then they died. And now I live with a cousin. So that child wanted so bad to go back in time. And can you imagine the conflict that she has inside her from all that time? So she needs a connection to somebody, and he made that connection. So it's so important that you do things like that so you can get to know them. So, but right now we're checking in with ourselves. So how are my life experiences and values similar and or different from historically underrepresented students? We all come from different backgrounds. We said that. And we're talking about how is it different from low socioeconomic status? How is it different with Blacks, Latinos, and students with disabilities and emerging bilingual? And we're all getting a lot of bilingual. We may not have that many, but we still have to address that. And how might I build relationships with these students? And that's why you have to really think about it. And you have to be intentional. And what steps might I take to better understand the experiences of my students? What do these students need that they aren't getting? And how can I be part of the solution? If you just sit down with a team or with yourself and work through these questions, you can learn a lot because it's a guide for you. Go ahead, Mary. Mary, do I need to stop?
It's up to you, Bernadette. It's whatever time that you have to on this.
I'm okay. How long do we meet?
We meet till 11 is the cutoff time.
Okay, I got a little bit more time then. Because they were running a little bit behind. I don't have to be in there, just right now. So this is a recommendation. It was a Harvard project. We all have biases. And I have found I do have biases. I work on them and they're unconscious. Sometimes we don't even realize we have them. I don't have biases about big things that some people may have, but I do have biases. I have certain things that I think are right. And it's hard to convince me that they're not. I literally have to see it. So I've been working on myself also with this. And the sooner you know about your implicit biases, the ones you don't even realize you have, the sooner you'll be able to recognize these and to grow from it. And I mean, this has been really good for me. I'll have to say that. Okay, go ahead, Mary. The strategy 2 is do the work, build your cultural proficiency. So you have developed your awareness at this point. So now, and you're acknowledging it, and you're starting to say, okay, now I'm going to do something about it. So we are, go ahead, Mary. This is, and I would have you talk if I had more time, but where is your classroom, school, district, organization on the cultural proficiency continuum? So if you look at this, it takes you all the way from what I guess we could call novice all the way over. To get to proficiency, it takes a lot of work, and I'm not sure. I think when you get there, that you want to get there. You want to get there, but it's not going to happen unless you're intentional with it. But you know, some people are destructive. They don't want to build the culture. And I know you all are not like that, but there are people in this world that want to be the naysayers, and they don't want to, you know, they want to eliminate the cultures of others because they think their culture is the only one. So I'm not going to read all that to you, but as you go over it, you will see that the further you get here, and if you just look at it, it gives you some examples of things that you can do to help with those things. So maybe sometime I'll come to you school and train, or I can do a virtual, you know, all day training. Do the work, build your cultural proficiency. Center your work on the voices of others, especially those traditionally at the margins. Where would you start? Listen more than you speak. I have an issue with this. Sometimes I don't listen. I'm bad to talk, you know. But believe it or not, I am a pretty good listener to people. But sometimes I'll offer my own things in there. I have to be more conscious of that and really listen to what they're saying. You need to really listen to what those kids are saying. Don't be on your phone when they try to ask you something. Don't ignore them. If they have the nerve to come up there and talk to you, they got some reason they're doing that. And also with your coworkers, you know, where would you start on this? Can you identify something about yourself that you feel like you need to work on? And I think I'm real guilty of this, and Mary can tell you this, or anybody's on here. They'll come to my office and I'll sit there and be working and talking to them. Well, that's really not being a good listener. Even though I'm hearing them, I'm responding, but it could give the impression that I'm not really listening to them. Even though I am responding, I may not be taking it in. There's 2 really good books, and our KVEC is doing coaching for equity right now. And street data I did with KDE. But in street data, the book, it talks to us about our academic assessments are not the only assessments. Surveys are not the only assessments or things that we're looking at to see what to change. A lot of it is about what you see daily, what you hear daily. It's about knowing where this kid came from. So you have to look at all the data. And then coaching for equity, it talks about in it, and we've just started it. We've done the introduction in chapter 1, but in it, it talks about this little boy. He went into school and he had on a hood. He had 14 interactions with adults. Only one adult gave him a positive word. Only one out of 14. Now, how do you think he wants to be at school? Even though it's probably the best place he could be, because he's getting the 2 meals and he's, you know, I guess there with his friends, but he wasn't talking to anybody. They said he was just kind of to himself. And all they could do was correct him instead of, before he even did it wrong. you're supposed to, so you have to be careful what you say, because you can really hurt kids and you can turn them off, and you can do that with adults also. Okay, go ahead, Mary. We have to be advocates for these children. Some of them don't even, and I'm going to say this because with the emotional poverty, that's something that I've really realized. And I guess I always knew it, but even sometimes your high socioeconomic kids do not have emotional support at home, because maybe parents are too busy working or this or that, or the kid may just have an issue. So it's not just about your low socioeconomic kids. You have to know all your kids and your parents. So make contact. You can go ahead, Mary. It's okay. And when you're talking about contact, and I know that you all do this, but as a principal, I would go out front when it was bus time or pickup time with the cars. And I tried to make a point. I'd take kids out. I would make a point to talk to people, try to have positive interactions with them. And I would also do that with my kids. I was out there every morning to say, good morning, how are you? Whether I felt like it or not. Sometimes you feel like really bad, but you have to. I told one teacher one time, I said, hey, you're going to have to act. It doesn't come natural to you. So you're going to have to be an actress. So sometimes we have to put our own feelings aside, and we have to actually think about others and put that best foot forward. Go ahead, Mary. Okay, strategy for 3. You have to have necessary conversations. So you have to be ready to have some maybe conversations that are not what you want to have. Sometimes when you look at yourself, you see things, and you see things in others, and if they'll take the time to look at themselves, they'll see it. But sometimes you have to have those necessary conversations, and we want to think that we're doing all that and we're doing everything we can. But if you're not doing things intentionally, sit down, start thinking, start brainstorming. You'll find that, there's always things that we could do to get to know others more and to make them feel more inclusive. According to Learning for Justice, it's a conversation that explores the relationships between identity and power, that traces the structures that help some at the expense of others, and that helps students think through the actions they can take to create a more just, more equitable world. As we said, and we know, sometimes we are the role models for kids. I mean, I think we always are, but you have some parents that are really good role models at home. Some kids don't have that. So we have to make sure that we're doing that for all kids. Okay, go ahead, Mary. And this is what I would challenge you. And I know of a school that actually did this at a high school. They did a survey, and they asked the kids to put on there some teacher or either a custodian, someone in the building that they felt a connection with, that they could talk to. So does every single student at your school have a trusted adult? And how do you know that? Because sometimes we do data. We were doing a training in somewhere, Louisville or somewhere, and they showed us the data, and the survey of the teachers said, oh yeah, every kid had a person that they felt they could go to and they could talk to them about something. The kids survey, and we know sometimes kids don't always tell it like it is, but it was an enormous amount of difference, said no, they did not have a trusted person that they could go to at their school. And I have no doubt that that is the truth. Every kid does not. And that's something we need to make sure of. When our students walk into our school, do they see themselves reflected in our staff? If the schools are a predominantly majority community, are we intentionally introducing our students to diverse voices? We need to have things in the hall. If we're going to have things in the hall, it needs to address the different cultures. Do our students see themselves represented on the walls of the hallways and classrooms? This would be very relevant if you had a lot of or had students of a different race. You wouldn't want to have just all white. You'd want to have a combination, and it can relate to other things also. Do they see themselves represented in the curriculum? And that's where you have to break down your curriculum and look at it and say, okay, well, this kid could offer this. You know they came from wherever, and they've probably got a background in this, that they could offer us something. So you can include them. And the school name or mascot, what's the history behind them? Do they have a positive or negative effect on some? And I know some people have had a really hard time with some of that, but I'm not going to get into it. So do our families feel welcome at school? Why or why not? If a parent comes in and they're signing their kid up, or they're coming in to bring their kid something, and the person at the front desk is like, doesn't treat them like they belong, they're going to feel like they don't belong. I mean, do you want to go in a place that they do that? I don't, because there's been times that I have felt like, my God, you don't need to be. Actually, not long ago, I called an office and I said, I'm going to give you a little piece of advice. Get that person away from the front desk, because they don't need to be talking to people if they can't change. Now, I approached that wrong. What I should have done was just be kind to that person and try to, and I've done that with people. I have shown them kindness because, and I know some of y'all that know me think, yeah, kindness, but I have made a point to do some research, and I've had people that were rude, and I just continually be nice. And you know what? They come around. So and that's what people do sometimes with students. And we all have that tendency. We're human. They get in your face, you want to get right back. Well, when you do that, you blowed it all to pieces, because you're mimicking their behavior, and it's just going to make it even worse. So we have to be the adult. Okay. Go ahead, Mary. Students should learn about and from diverse cultures. Students should see and experience authentic representation of themselves, and be highly engaged in exciting academics. And that link right there actually takes you to like a rubric that shows you things that you can do to make them feel included, different cultures. Okay, representation matters. What are some ways we can ensure that our students feel represented? I talked about that earlier, about clubs, about different groups. I'm not going to go into it, but just think about that. I'm leaving you with some things to think about. Now, these are the 5 equity pillars, and Floyd County and Johnson County are working with me on this. We're actually doing the equity playbook, and it's through E2L, and it's a coaching. I think, folks, when it came out, I thought it had a playbook too. Everybody thought it had a playbook. We found out it didn't have a playbook. But anyway, it's a really good tool that teaches us how to coach, basically. And what they do is they focus on one of these areas and choose a goal that they want to work toward. And as you can see, you want all that. You want to connect with everybody, and you want all that to be successful. And I can do training on that if you ever want to hear more about the equity playbook. Let the data drive you. Look at the data. Now, go to the next page, Mary. You'll see right here that there's a variety of data that you're looking at: achievement, attendance, behavior, school completion, graduation, transition, retention rates. Are they represented and gifted and talented and AP and IB and all that dual credit stuff? Are all socioeconomics represented? Are all different cultures represented? If they're not, then there may be a little problem. Percentage receiving special education services, school climate, you need to look at that. Involvement in CTE and clubs and activities, parent involvement, and other ways to collect and gather data. And as I said earlier, street data teaches us that that's literally what it is. Look at the street data. What are those kids doing? What's their behaviors? As in that video, what's driving them? What happened with them? So this is just a list, and you can go ahead and bring them up, Mary, of the things that you can look at to determine if everyone is assessing equity. To make an assessment of your school or organization's culture, you need to collect items and you need to have conversations. So it's artifacts, rituals, communication, collaboration, innovation, decision-making, leadership, and other observations. Let me see what's next, Mary, and I may stop there. Data equity walks, we've done those, and those are very good, but I would caution on that. Don't put a particular student. You can look at a particular classroom, but if a person is not interacting with that kid, then you can't put its data out there for everybody to see. But it's very important. This is data that I'm thinking of is like pulled from the equity dashboard, where you're looking who is not involved in gifted and talented. You know, are the lower socioeconomic ones not involved? Are the special ed not involved? And you may say, well, special ed and gifted and talented, but they can be in gifted and talented because they may be talented in art or music or something. Okay, go ahead. And these are guidance documents that are on under MTSS under diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think these click right on, but you don't have to do that, Mary, to where you can go to it. And it gives you a data analysis protocol. And I know we've all used those in the past, but there's some examples there. And this is the book. I've already told the story about him, and there's a tracking tool in there. And you can also do empathy surveys. And we have some examples of empathy surveys. And when you do an empathy survey, you'll sit down one-on-one and collect the data. Okay, Mary. Okay, I'm going to leave it here because I have to go back upstairs, and I have to do Bronna's because she may not have time. I would encourage you to go through and look at this PowerPoint, and then the next time I'll go through the rest of it if that's okay with Mary.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever
And if you
need
have
on that.
questions, please feel free to contact me. I don't think Bronna's
Okay.
on here, and she asked me to do hers. So, and you
Okay.
know me, I could talk all day. So you have to say, time, stop.
Okay. All righty.
Nobody else would get a
You
talk but me.
I did have a question for you, Bernadette, on this training right here, the virtual one. Is there a registration link for them to be able, if they want to attend that equity dashboard training?
After I did that, I am having to change that date because there was something that came up with KDE and I cannot do that date. So please ignore that date, and I will get you a link out hopefully by Monday for another date. So it's like this.
I'm going to delete that slide then.
Okay.
If that's and then that way, well, I can leave it and I'll think on that. I'll change it to say to be announced. How's that sound?
Very good. Very good.
All righty. So there's that slide. Then I left that on there, and then all the things that you're available to train on. And then there's Bronna's slides.
Okay. So Bronna and I did the training on Monday together with the new teachers, and it was wonderful. We had such a good time. But these are the trainings that she has available for the 5 SEL components. She has trainings available for that. Call or email her to schedule a training. She can do virtual or in person. And this training is specifically for principals. No, wait, it's not. It can be for anybody, but training for the principals is available also. So she would probably do that in a separate one. New teachers induction grant, and that's what we are working on. We have set up, we're going to be doing emotional poverty. We're starting our next virtual. We started on it at the new teacher day we had the other day, but we're going to be following up and doing emotional poverty on March 27th at 3:30. So it'll last about an hour. We're just going to do little chunks of it, and we're developing our schedule of when we're going to be doing it every time, and we're going to send it out to them. In the summer, I think we are probably going to start it again and offer it to anybody, but right now we're focused on the new teachers because we want them to be able to have those discussions, and sometimes they'll have more discussions if they're not as many or if it's a light group of peers. So we also had David Sloan from UPike join us. He did a great job on the first day of school by Harry Wong. And if you've never heard or seen Harry Wong, I encourage you to. Rachel Jenga, why do I always want to say that? Jenga, I guess because it's got the N in front of it. She provides training on PBIS, and we're getting dates together with that. We were supposed to meet with her tomorrow, but there's a hiccup. So we're not going to be doing it tomorrow, but we may meet virtually with her. The E2L, Brana works with me on the equity playbook. You'd be pretty amazed. It's really been beneficial for me because I also have a coach. And what it does is keeps me on track. So if I had a principal in my district, I'd want every principal to have this, not because of evaluative purposes, but or a counselor, just to guide the teachers and offer them coaching and really know how, because it guides you through it. She has a counselor cadre meeting on March 23rd. Heather Bushelman will be in Hazard, and it's in the KVEC conference room. She does the counselor cadres, and KVEC is scheduling another one for our region. KDE also does those, and she hosts and works with Heather to do that. The health and PE cadres, she said the schedule for the health and PE cadres is sent to the health and PE teachers. It's virtual. George Sayers does it. He's the person who was contracted to do those cadres. He goes over the health and PE standards for elementary and middle schools, and the topic, that's what the topic will be for the next training. Angela Stark from KDE will be the presenter, and she's the one who leads this initiative. New teacher induction grant training opportunities are available. A survey was sent to principals to gauge needs for your new teachers. So when you see a survey, I'm going to be sending one out pretty soon. Be sure to do that, because that guides what we do. That guides us. She have anything else? Okay. This is, and you can register there. Please register, because that way we know how much food to get. So, oh, it's 8:30 to 12. I guess she's feeding them. What do you think, Mary?
I have no idea. I'm not sure on that one.
I better take that back, because I'm not sure. But we still need it, because we have to set up the room, and we do get refreshments for breakfast. So we do need that. Just register as soon as possible. It's coming on us. So she has those. Let's see. This is just the trainings that she and I can do. SEL trainings for the 5 SEL components from Castle. SEL trainings for principals. Emotional poverty, book 1 and 2. We are certified. Bridges Out of Poverty certified training, and new teacher training. So with the new teacher training, we are looking for things that you feel like your new teachers need. So when you get those surveys, that guides us, because one of the surveys that principals answered on said that the teachers needed classroom management. So that was our intent by what we did. And the thing is, like, Harry Wong has all the procedures, but if you're addressing the diversity, equity, inclusion, and making them feel like they belong, you're going to do away with a lot of classroom misbehavior. Not every kid, because there is that certain little percentage up there, but it's going to help you tremendously. And there's our contact information.
All right. So I think that's it for your all. Does anybody have any questions for Bernadette?
If you think of something you want to, if you think of something later that you didn't think of and you want to reach out to me, please do. I'll be happy to get back with you. Thank you all. Wish I could stay the whole time, but I can't. Yeah. Gotta go.
appreciate you dropping in and sharing information. It's a great connection to what Marshall Wilcox was talking with us about, because that does help when you develop those relationships, those incidents from happening. And so I think it's a great connection.
Well, thank you, Mary. Everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. We'll see you. Dion, are you still with me, or did you have to leave? I'm okay. Either way, I know you also are in a district. Everybody's so busy.
Yeah, I'm here, Mary. I have just a couple of minutes. I will only
Alright.
take 2 minutes, probably.
Okie dokie. I'm gonna put in the chat your form so that they can click on it, and then I'll click on it and pull it up for you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it should just take me
So-
just a couple of minutes.
Alrighty. There we go. Can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. You go,
Okay.
Dion. Thank you
All
for
right,
being
thank
here. I'm
you.
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's fine. So there's a couple things that I just wanted to let district leaders know about. And one of the things is, and I think I maybe talked to you about it last month, but we are having a spring special ed conference and expo. And that one is our spring conference. So we have our regular sessions that we offer for any new or emerging teachers or teachers that are relatively new that you feel like should attend some of those sessions. The other thing, and you'll see that there's a link there, it says spring conference schedule at a glance, and that'll give you an idea as district leaders if you would want to send teachers for that special education conference. We're going to host that one at Big Sandy Community and Technical College. They don't have students on Friday, and so they're going to have that opened up for us to use their facility. And so we're going to have a big event. We've invited the Office of Special Ed and Early Learning to come. We've invited the OSIL team. And so there'll be projects that are demonstrated there around the innovation. So I included in that first thing the link to register if they would like to attend. And then the second one is the schedule at a glance. So in case you want to look to see what our sessions are, we're going to have some on special ed in Infinite Campus. We're going to have some on parent involvement. We're going to have sessions on how to use innovation. We've got a couple of our teacher leaders that are doing projects on how to work some strategies and skills for teachers to use with motor when kids have delays for motor. So we have them in paper, for compliance, and then we have academic strategies, behavior strategies. So that's going to just be a full day of learning that day, but it's all around innovation. And our teacher leaders will be there to present their problems of practice. But anyway, it's a full day. So any teachers that you can allow to attend, that would be a great opportunity for them to see all the innovation going on in this region. So the next thing is we do have our Summer Institute open now, the registration. And so day one is going to be around the special ed paperwork compliance component of that, but it'll also have some academic and behavior sessions. And then day two will be Rick Fisher, and we're partnering with Rick Fisher to do a whole day of strategies for special education. So he's going to use those strategies from Thoughtful Classroom and then talk about how do we apply those for special ed with special ed teachers in inclusive classrooms and co-teaching classrooms. So we're going to give teachers, buckets of strategies, and that's our intention for that day. And then there'll be follow-up coaching that goes beyond that, but that'll kind of be our kickoff event with him on July the 21st. So if you have any special education teachers, and it doesn't have to just be new teachers, this could be any special education professional that you want to attend our Summer Institute, because we will have sessions for all different groups. We always try to include them, including our speech therapists and occupational therapists. We try to include some sessions for them as well. So we're moving forward looking at that. We have a low incidence cadre, and that low incidence cadre is the one we put together to help those teachers who have kids on alternate assessment. And we're just going through the alternate assessment targets, because they take the Kentucky academic standards and then break those down into targets for alternate assessment. And that we will just go over that, breaking down into those standards, but also how to teach some of those lessons to meet those targets. The second thing on that is the autism hour, and we're working on inclusive classrooms this month. So how do we move students that are autistic or that are moving into inclusive classrooms? How do we support that at the middle and high school level? So that's that session. And then our new and emerging teacher cadre is April the 12th, and that one is from 3:30 to 4:30. This month's topic is how high leverage practice for inclusive classrooms. So we're looking at the research from the Cedar Foundation. They identified high leverage practices in special education around the Council for Exceptional Children standards. And what do we do? What does that look like in the special education realm. And that's what that session is going to be. These will all be recorded as well and be available on the holler. The other thing then, if you'll see down there on this page, you'll see in the bottom of the page in white, it says KVEC Exceptional Children. And there's a blue link tab there, and that will link you to, it's on the bottom of page 1, Mary, there, right there. That will take you to our Exceptional Children site. So all of the things that I share with you around our cadres and our autism hour are recorded and available. So you can go back and have teachers review those and have access to any of the ones that we've provided throughout this year. But that one is our plan. Those are the ones that are coming up next. We do also have a special education needs assessment that we are administering right now. So it is out in districts, and we're opening that up to different professionals in districts around what needs you have for special education for the upcoming year. So I dropped that link in there as well. If you have time, you will identify your role and then help us to prioritize work in special education. I can tell you the more responses that we have so far are around behavior. So if that continues to be something that we want to focus on, that's going to be, that will drive our work next year, and we open any feedback on that. The other thing
Dion,
is,
I have a question in the chat.
okay,
It's asking, would the Summer Institute be beneficial for regular education teachers too, or special education only? And I've got my answer.
so yes, so I can answer that. Well, let me back up just a little bit, but yes, it could be open for anyone. The Rick Fisher work, the days that he's going to be here with us on that, the 21st, is going to be focused on strategies. So it all comes from that thoughtful classroom, but we're talking about how you apply the strategies that we learn for students with disabilities. But all teachers have students with disabilities in their classroom. And so if we're thinking about closing gaps for our TSI and our CSI schools, and we look at our subpopulations, and that might be our populations with disability, then those could be very valuable strategies. Day 1 is going to be really around the compliance piece of that. But, there is a very active role for regular ed teachers in that process too, because they are team members of the ARC. So helping to understand that component, but we'll also have some behavior sessions that day and some academic sessions. So those would be open. So the answer is absolutely they could have some, benefit of that. So, and we'll hope to record all those sessions this summer too, but there's always a benefit of being in person.
It says
So-
great co-teaching and collaboration are a focus for our district right now. So thank you. That's awesome.
Right. Well, that's kind of where we're at. When we look at our needs assessment and where we're at, we know that behavior is a big priority, but we're also looking at the number of districts that are CSI and TSI with those categories for that subcategory disability. And we're seeing that's instruction piece. So we can improve that through the collaborative classroom or co-teaching practices, and we can also strengthen that through the delivery of instruction that we provide for students with disabilities. So we're seeing an increase on that. So our second most common request is co-teaching. So that's why we're trying to continue to work on that, which leads me to the third thing in that little gray area on the bottom of that first page is this upcoming year for KVEC, we've been looking at how we continue to support building administrators, but also district leaders as well. We're going to offer a quarterly PLC for special education for principals to attend. And we plan to do that virtually so principals can just hop on and they won't have to leave their school. And we're working on the details for that, but we're going to have one session on universal design for learning and how that applies for all students, but how that's for special education students. The other one is we're going to offer a session for administrators on high leverage practices. Again, that helps you kind of understand, what those practices are and those responsibilities through the Council for Exceptional Children. But what do we know in the research that says these are the best practices for special education students to achieve at higher levels? The other thing that we're going to have is a co-teaching PLC. And then we're going to offer we hope to offer one on the roles and responsibilities as ARC chairpersons to kind of help them really build the context of that and how they can go in with a little more information than maybe if they don't have a special ed background. Sometimes they are in positions where they have to chair ARC meetings, and we hope to give them some more information to help support their learning around that. But just our intent would be just to help principals with some of those special ed areas that we don't always get time to address. And we'll apply for ELA credit and those kinds of things too, so that we can give them ELA credit for those sessions for this upcoming year. But I wanted everyone to know about those just so that they would have the idea of thinking about that in their pocket, so that they can plan for some quarterly sessions. And we'll send out a survey around the times and when it'd be appropriate, but we would just try to do that maybe quarterly or something. So, and I think that's all I have, Mary.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dion. I always appreciate you sharing, because I know when I was in district, I didn't always know everything that was going on with special ed, and just really appreciate you sharing all the great information that you all put out there. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you all. And if you have any questions, just let me know. And if you
Okay.
get any feedback,
Thank you.
if anybody wants to send Mary a message or some feedback about the principal PLC for this upcoming year, and that would be open to any one of you that are here today. You know, you could sit in on that professional learning, just tailored for special education. So if you have any feedback or want to share that with Mary, and she can get that to me about, you know, if you think it's something that you would be interested in, and if that would be something that you could manage in your calendar.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Dion. You be careful traveling. We're getting right at 11 o'clock, so I am going to go to one slide that I want to make sure. This is for Carol. So if you're needing help with reading and writing standards, let me tell you, Carol Mullins is your person you need. She's awesome. I know several of you know her and you are utilizing her, but our calendars are getting a little full. So if you're wanting things at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, please reach out to any of our consultants to try to get that scheduled, because I already have dates booked up until July and August. So myself, and I know the others are the same. So just make sure that if you're wanting particular trainings for like reading, any of the content areas, let us know and we'll be working with you on those. The next slide, I want to make sure you all are aware, I'm going to throw the feedback survey in the chat next, but we have Todd Whitaker. We are so thankful that Johnson County, we've partnered with them. They're going to be the host location, but what great teachers do differently. What a great PD for your new teachers or experienced. But this is going to be July 12th. There is the registration link in the chat and also here on the slide. And I will be dropping these slides in our participant folder so that you all can get access to this. Or if you just want me to email them out to you, I can do that too. But this would be a fabulous training for some of your teachers to attend. We will be providing the credit, ELA credit, to show that they've attended, but it's from 8:30 to 11:30. It's at Johnson Central High School. But wonderful opportunity. And I do have a professional learning survey, and I would appreciate any names of presenters that you would be interested in us trying to get. Like this year, we've had Ruby Payne, we've had Todd Whitaker, we've had Harvey Silver with the Thoughtful Classroom. So some great names in education. So we want to really try to provide you all with some wonderful experiences here. So please be sure to include that in the professional learning survey that I will be sharing here a little bit later. But I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat because it is 11 o'clock. And I know some of you need to get off and go ahead and go take care of some things before I get into my slides. We will extend the training next year, our network meetings, to 2 hours, because I do feel that that kind of works better. And so if we get done early, no big deal. But if it takes a little bit longer, but 2 hours, it seems to kind of be what we need for this. I will go on through, but just really excited to share with you. The registration is already up to, I think, 240 some teachers have already registered. So be sure that you share that out and you get some teachers registered. We are providing it as a virtual option as well, so that if your teachers are not able to attend in person, they can, be laying on the beach and listen to Dr. Todd Whitaker. So if they're on vacation, so just be aware that there is also a virtual option with that as well. But just want to make sure that you are aware. The next thing is we do have our new teacher. Now, Dee almost talking about the special ed network for new teachers. We also have a new teacher network. And we have 3 more days, March the 16th, which is today. And Bernadette's going to be sharing about similar to things that we were talking about today, but very important of recognizing and being aware and helping kids to feel that they belong and providing that equity in our classrooms. But that is today, and I have we'll be emailing that out. This is free, and a lot of times we have to pay for this science leadership training. So be sure that if you have, we know science is one of the lowest performing for the assessment. So there are different locations offered. So make sure that you sign up for this for the one that's closest to you, because it is PIMS are offering it. And so it is free. So take advantage of that. Principals, this is for you. So make sure that you're involved, because science has been a challenge. And I know some of you have been asking, I've been coming into some of your districts and helping with some science standards work. So this would be a great training for some of that. And that very first meeting is going to address some of the differences that the revised standards are going to be putting out there for this next year. What did I do? Oh, I clicked the link. My bad. Sorry, guys. This is a new training that I'm going to be sharing. I'm going to go ahead and share out with you all. But this is the Deeper Learning Conference that the state is providing. There is a cost to this, but I'll drop this in the chat. But there is a discount if you are a KVEC district, where we've been doing so much work with Dr. Harvey Silver. Like Dion was talking about, with Rick Fisher being there for the Summer Institute on the second day. Awesome practical things teachers can go and take directly into their classroom. I was a big fan of Silver and Strong with the Thoughtful Classroom when I was in the classroom. Just great things and very practical in use. So I put the registration to the, I put the PDF in there for you all to be able to look at, and you can go to the website. I think I made this slide a hyperlink to where you can click on it and go to the registration. But that one, like I said, KVEC 2023 is your discount to give you, I think, $25 off the registration cost for that. But that is in July, and it is in Elizabethtown, which I did not realize is pretty much about in the center there to make equal distance for those that have to travel a little farther. The next thing, just to want to make sure you are aware of this, please do not miss this opportunity. They just released, was it last week or a week before, for the fiscal year 23, the Reading Diagnostic and Intervention Fund mini grant. They did a math one last semester. This is a reading one. It's a one-time grant that you can apply for to kind of help with some of those Reading Diagnostic and Intervention Fund. So attend that March 21st session. I made that a direct link for you all so that you all could get to that, and make sure that you are getting that information. Try to apply and get you some money to help you with some of those costs in relation to the reading diagnostic. It's a one-time fund, and it's not a laborsome grant application. So make sure that you're aware of that, and that attend that technical assistance, or watch the recording if you aren't available on the 21st. Also, if you didn't attend the Senate Bill 9 webinar last week, just want to make sure you're aware that in May on the Senate Bill 9, they talk about reading improvement plans for students and read at home plan. That KDE will be providing templates, documents for these, and they will be available in May. So as soon as those are released, we'll make sure and send out email that you are aware of those that are related to that Senate Bill 9. So just make sure that you want to make sure you're in the know. Math Nation, if you haven't taken a look at this resource for your high school for Algebra 1 Geometry and Algebra 2, there's a video tour there. Highly recommend that you take a look at that. It's got a great resource. Every district has to choose how they need to use that, but it's a good, I would be looking at it. If I was still in district, I would be asking my math teachers to look at it and let's have a conversation of how they could use it. In the interest form, if you're interested, let me know. I'm also working with Renee Parker on scheduling some things this summer for Math Nation for training. We're going to look at maybe doing an in-person and a virtual option for that for you all. I want to make sure you're aware of the PBL works, because those of you that have responded to the survey have talked about project-based learning. Teachers, there's 3 days, PBL 101, there's an online virtual one for 3 days, and then there's one in Floyd County and a 3-day session in Round County. So make sure that you're aware of those to share with your teachers if PBL, project-based learning, is something you're interested in. Also have scheduled for April 11th for Defined Learning, which also provides a project-based learning approach. It's going to be in person and virtual, and I'll be emailing you a link to that so that if you're interested in attending, like I said, it's virtual. It's going to be a hybrid option. So if you want to come in person, I know nothing's better than being in person, but that gives you that option. I'm talking really fast. I'm so sorry, you all. But that is a link so that you can go and take a look at Defined Learning, and I can drop that in the chat for you too, so that you can look at that if you want. But it's just another resource. Just want to make sure you're aware of some of these things that are being promoted out there. Next, CSIP, CDIP. I usually always kind of come back to this because was always something that was on the burner for us. There's all the 4 phases. So due date of May 1st, that continuous of learning plan, most of us call it NTI, but making sure that you get that in there. That may be just a lot of copy and pasting from you from the previous year. English Learner Plan for districts, also known as LAO Plan. A lot of that's already laid out for us of what we need to make sure we're providing for those English learners. But that's due May 1st. And then your professional development plan for your districts are also due. And at the school level, you need to, as principals, make sure that you have your professional development plan for your school. I do have some copies, and let me go get a link to those so that you are aware. I've made it to where you can just, when you click on these links, it will make a copy, and it's your copy. You change it, do with it what you will. But I have all 3 of those. There's a sample professional learning survey that you can take and modify and use within your district to kind of get, or within your school as a principal, to kind of get a survey of what your teachers are wanting. So there's also a sample PD action plan that you often hear reference to. It's very generic. It has like the regulation in it, and then you put your mission statement and everything in it to add to it of what is particular to your school or district. A sample curriculum map template with a calendar. I'll see if I can click on that and bring that one up, but you'll notice it will ask me to make a copy. Some people like a calendar with a, just taking a little second there, like a calendar to go with their curriculum map. And this is your copy now, so you can make changes to it ever how you want. You can change it to just say unit. You can change it to say what Kentucky academic standards. Maybe it's a science one. But letting your teachers, if you already have one, just ignore this. Do not worry about it. But providing this, because I know some of you are in the process of making plans for next year, but it's just a little curriculum map to help your teachers plan and plot out their year. Pacing guide, sometimes you'll hear us refer to as. But this one is a little more detailed because it does have the calendar involved with it. The other one does not have a calendar. So if I take a real quick look at it, once again, it'll make a copy. It's really the same thing. Thinking about making a copy, but this one would just be like an instructional window and the days in the unit. This one wouldn't have to be updated as particularly if you utilize this one, whereas a calendar one, you need to update it each year because of adjusting your calendar, which you would still hear with the instructional window, but a little bit different. But just wanted to provide you some access to some of those documents so that, you know, a lot of you already have those. Make use of what you have. But this is just trying to help some of you that may not have a document like that in place yet. Oops, that's the survey. Didn't mean to click on that. My bad. Sorry. Our DAC network met in March, and so these are the DAC meeting dates for next year that we've already went through and established. So just making sure everybody's aware. We do have that March 7th, but may change depending on the ACT dates for next year. We only have 2 more meetings, April 20th and May 18th. Hard to believe the year is almost done. I do have a link to this professional learning survey. If you would please take time to fill it out. I do have a response from Johnson County, Letcher County, Morgan, and Wolf. But even if I have responses from those counties, please, if you've not filled it out, would love to have your input because we want to also address whatever principals need with this. But there is the professional learning survey. If you will try to have that, and I'll share the results in March in our April meeting. And don't forget, we do have our Padlet. I do update that. And we do have our professional learning calendar as well, and our folder. Let me copy that so that you all can have access to those too. And I will drop this PowerPoint into our participant folder so that you have access to those. And I'll also ask the hauler to get the recording and drop that in the chat as well. But reach out to any of our consultants here at KVEC to help in planning for your professional learning needs for this summer and next year. And there's the feedback survey. So now I'm done. I was like, whew. I said, we'll be changing this to a little longer. I'll go and put the feedback survey back in there. If you've already finished it, you are free to go. Thank you so much. And good luck to Breathitt County. I guess they're playing right now, in Ashland, and Martin County in Eastern Kentucky. They're still in the mix. So good luck to all our teams at state and to the academic teams that'll be competing this weekend as well. So all kinds of great things going on. I understand why they call it March Madness now, because I do feel like it's a little bit crazy going on. But thank you all for being here today. Please take time to fill out the feedback survey. When you hit submit, it should email to you. Make sure you get your email typed in there correctly, and check your junk if it doesn't. And if you don't get it, email me and I can get you a copy of the certificate. Thank you, Erin, for being here today. Thank you to everyone that took the time to join us. I know that's a lot of information. Appreciate Mr. Wilcox coming in. Remember, July 11th, we've got scheduled. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate you all being here. Good luck in the next round for Ashland. They've advanced to the top 8. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Take just a second to do your feedback survey. Like I said, it'll give you your ELA credit to be able to add for the hours that you need by June 30th. And you all have a great day and enjoy all the activities going on